Hi, everybody. Good evening. After a hiatus of the holiday of Passover, we're back to studying. We completed chapter 43. In the previous chapters, beginning 41, 42, and 43, the rabbi spoke about two types of fear of God. A fear that's called a higher level of fear and a lower level of fear of punishment. A higher level of fear is out of respect for the greatness of God. Last chapter, 43, we spoke about two levels of love. They are called Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah means great love that no one can reach on their own, but it's a gift from God, where we want to bond with God. And the second one is called Ahavat Olam. After Ahavat Olam, meaning we love God after contemplating all the kindness that God is doing and has done and will do, and that awakened the love towards God. The discussion was which one should be first, and we have discovered in chapter 42 that the ordinary way, and chapter 43, the ordinary way, fear must be first. You have to create space. I shared with you that in relationship, when you start a relationship, there must be respect for one another. Only then love can be poured in. You have to empty the bucket before it can get filled with love. If I have no respect for my spouse, for my employer, for my partner, for my whatever, then there is no bonding. You cannot bond with someone if you only see your needs and makes you feel good and what's good for me. It doesn't work like that. There has to be respect, acknowledging somebody else is here, acknowledging I have to accommodate and be there for someone. Then I can bond and connect and see how great it is to be together. With God, there must be fear, the respect of God, and that would lead to love, and that will make us serve God appropriately. So God says that we must serve God out of love and fear. Both of them are needed like two legs of the same body. You cannot function. One leg is not sufficient. It doesn't help. You need both because that's the way they have to walk in tandem. The Rebbe has a little problem with those two types of love. The Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses tells the Jewish people, Ki karov elecha adavar meod, it is very near to you, beficha ubilvavcha la'asoto. To have love for God is very easy. Based on what we've discovered, it's not so easy. You need to, one is only a gift by God. The second has to have a very deep contemplation. In other words, it's not going to happen so fast. That's why the next chapter, the Rebbe is going to concentrate on two types of love, new, that will be easy to follow without much deeper contemplation. I should say that chapter 44. Chapter 45, the Rabbi is going to talk about a third level of love. So in other words, the Rabbi is going to introduce us into two types of love in this chapter. I'm going to call it very, very briefly, I'm going to introduce you to it. One is called the love of life. Just like naturally, I don't need to contemplate about my life. I want to preserve my life. I want to live as long as I can. I want to have a quality of life. There is no need for contemplation. That's how our bond with God should be, love of life. And the second one is the natural love between a parent and a child. The children and the parents have love without being told or contemplating over. Why? Because that's the way we were created. In other words, there is a combination of both types of love. The one type of love is coming from God. We call it Ahava Rabbah. A man cannot reach on his own. The second type of love, a man can reach it through contemplation. The rabbi is going to talk about two types of love that are inborn with, and therefore they are naturally existing. I don't have to find it, discover it, or create it. On the other hand, I have to contemplate, but it's not much deep and much such great contemplation. It comes out very easy. This is the two that the rabbi is going to talk about 44. In 45, the rabbi is going to talk about another type of love, and that's called face to face. Just like the face you reflect in a mirror or in the water will reflect back the other face. If I'm happy and I look in the mirror, I saw a happy face. If I'm sad, you will see a sad face. The same is about my relationship with God. If I show love for God, God will show back love to me. And therefore, it's much easier to create that love. We're going to talk about it in chapter 45. We are concentrating on 44. Yes.
However, love is something that we can't do by ourselves.
The Ahava Rabbah is a gift from God. Yes.
You can't have someone help you. It has to come from above that.
Our self bonding with God so greatly that God would gift us that love. If God is not gifting us Ahava Rabbah, it's impossible to reach.
Moshe, maybe
Moshe, the forefathers, exactly. That's why before Shema, what do we say? Avat olam avtanu. What do Ashkenazim say? Ahava Rabbah. You know that, right? You follow Ashkenazic Siddur sometimes, right? If you look in the Siddur, you see Ahava Rabbah. We follow Kabbalah. According to Kabbalah, Ahava Rabbah is a very, very lofty connection to God, and therefore we talk about Avat Olam, the love that we can reach. Okay? Now you understand, and we'll see today, this chapter, we're going to see how Kabbalah explains obvious texts in the Torah, in the Bible, and looks at it totally different. The meaning of the word is totally different than the usual meaning, and you'll see how the translation is one way, but according to Kabbalah, the translation should be totally different. We'll see it soon.
What were the two types of father and son, and what was it, father and children, and what else? What was the other type?
I want to say one more thing. What's the question?
There were two things, the father and son, natural, and what was the other natural one?
It's called love for life. That's the first one.
Okay.
The rabbi is addressing another point. It's in between the lines, so it's worth mentioning it now, so you will see it in the text later, that we are now going to be discovering that my emotions are controlled by my contemplation and intellect. In other words, the way I perceive things, it will affect how I feel about them. Do we agree on that? In today's day and age, we know it. If the doctor tells you instant food is bad for you, I say, what's wrong? It tastes good. But what happens if you start getting a heartburn and a headache and you don't sleep well at night, and the doctor says it's all because of that, try it for a week, then your brains will tell you, run away from it. It's not good for you. There will be consequences. In other words, our bond, our love and fear, our relationship, my emotions are contemplated and are controlled by my brains. Is that clear? That is a problem, seemingly a problem, because God says that He wants us to serve God out of love and fear. Now we are discovering that that love and fear is created in the brains. So God should have said that my action, my serving of God, should be controlled by the way I understand and perceive God. And the rabbi is going to explain that this is exactly what the Torah wants. The Torah tells us that how can you prove that you are in your brains understand that God is great, that God should be revered, should be respected and obeyed? Because you can prove by the way you feel. Did you understand what I'm saying? In other words, God says, serve God out of love, serve God out of fear. But that love and fear is created here. However, how can I prove that I am convinced 100% that I need to serve God and it's the best thing for me? How do I prove that I have respect for God? it will be played out through the emotions, how I feel about God. If I feel strong love to God, it means I came to a conclusion in my head, it's the best thing for me. And therefore, I love it. And I came to conclusion, I do not want to disobey God. Why? Because I respect and I have fear of God, the fear that I'm talking about, not fear of punishment, but fear of respect. Did you understand that point?
Difficult how to think along those lines, because most of the time people fear punishment, don't feel love.
I understand. I was raised as a chassid. I'm not a righteous man, and I'm not perfect. But the idea of punishment from God, I am laughing at, because my father loves me. My father never raised his hand towards me. My father was very happy. I saw the pain on his face many times when I disobeyed, but there was no punishment. There was, tell me, why did you do it? How can you do that? I did not expect you to do that. How many times I have to explain that to you? That's cool. So as I grew up now, I felt I have to make up for all the suffering I caused them. I feel that my God is far greater, much deeper than God, my father. And therefore, I don't feel that God is going to punish me. I do not. Hasidim do not talk about that, not because we want to avoid, you don't want to discuss something that's painful. It's because we don't believe in it. The fact is the Torah talks about hell and chibut kever and kafakela. It's very painful. But the less you talk about it, the easier it gets. So we do not delve into it. In what?
Counting.
Of course they do. What's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? They sit and cry because they know they are undeserving. They know on Rosh Hashanah, if they don't promise God to try better, there's no merit for them to stay around. Don't take it in the understanding, because it's totally not true, that Hasidim do not see that they do wrong, or Hasidim do not believe that God is not going to punish. It's not true. God tells it in the Torah. But we would rather concentrate on the positive, because we know it will, let's put it this way, it will affect us to a greater degree than contemplating the punishment. Okay? But there's no denying it's there. There is such a thing. I'm just going to use an example, because if someone needs to, God forbid, undergo an operation, there is fear. There is fear of pain, even though they put right, the anesthesiologist is going to put him to sleep, etc. After, when they wake up, there's going to be an adjustment of great pain. I've seen people who had a open heart surgery. There was a man, unfortunately, he died at a young age. He couldn't care less about his health, but he needed to have that open a heart surgery. He told me the pain and suffering with the Valium and with the painkillers for the next, I believe, a week or 10 days were enormous, that he known he wouldn't do it. It's very painful. It's not, you cutting the flesh, all the painkillers may not be as effective, but we don't talk about it because you want to avoid it. You talk about the positive, you talk about the outcome that would be great. So it's the choice. We choose. My doctor, I'm sure, is going to talk about the benefit of the operation, not all the consequences that are unavoidable. But it's not necessarily should be part of the discussion. I hope I conveyed the message. So I just shared with you the idea that my contemplation will create my love or fear of God. Based on that, the rabbi is going to talk, the first thing the rabbi is going to talk is that there are myriads, untold levels of love or fear of God. Why? Because it all depends how I perceive God, how I understand God. So me and you have a healthy relation with the same parent, for example, and the parent acted equally the same, two identical twins, yet one will have a much deeper love, and the other one will have a different type of love. Why? It's not because of the parent doing or not doing something, they did exactly the same. It's just, but their mind, they feel, or they concluded either that the father should have done more. Another one felt that the father did not, or did too much, way too more than the average. So you have those two people. One's love for the father or mother is on a certain level, and the other is different. They both love their parents, but their love is expressed and felt differently. Says the Rebbe, you know how many levels of Ahavat Olam there is? Millions, no level. That's why, as we'll see a verse in the Torah that is applied to this, according to Kabbalah, is something that's hidden. Anything that's in my head or my heart, there is no way for you to know. What it means, no way for you to know, not because it's concealed, but because my experience is different than anyone else. I can tell you I love my parents deeply, or my spouse, or my children deeply, great, in a great level of, you can imagine, the greatest. My parent is the best. And you feel the same way. You feel towards your parents the same way. But yet, our love is totally different. The one will express it in one way, writing love notes. The other one would buy gifts. The third one will expect that because I love, they should love me too. It's all different experience. Did you understand that? When it comes to action, putting on tefillin, lighting Shabbat candles, eating kosher, there is no distinction between one to the other. You may be very smart, big, small, male, female, it doesn't matter. God says, eat kosher, you ate kosher. God said, speak the truth, you spoke the truth. You did a mitzvah. When God says, love me, when God says, respect me, my love of God is totally different than yours. Did you understand that? Therefore, there is no two people who have the same love for God. That's the introduction before the rabbi is going to talk about other loves. The other point the rabbi is going to make, it's not the rabbi, the rabbis explained what the rabbi is going to talk about. Remember I told you about Ahava Rabbah, the first step of love that is a gift from God? Because it comes to the human being, the human mind is unique. So from God, God would bestow upon a bunch of people in the room, Ahava Rabbah, the great, great love. But because my IQ is one number, and because the way you were raised in the one country is different, and because someone else has more siblings than the rest, their understanding of God is totally different. So from God it came the same. It's a bucket of water, but each one has this different container that contains the water, and therefore they will have different types of love. So even Ahava Rabbah, that's a gift from God. If someone is merited to have that, it's going to be different than someone else across the street to receive the same Ahava Rabbah. Why? Because of my vessel, because of my mind. In other words, did you understand, Leon, you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So there are two types of love we talked about. Ahavat Olam based on contemplation, Ahava Rabbah based on a gift from God. Both of them are unique to an individual, and therefore there are myriads of untold levels of within each category. And that is the proof that all relationship and emotions are controlled by the intellect. And because my intellect is unique based on my DNA, that's who I am. Therefore, my love towards God, even if we are in the same category, you both experience love, we both love God very much, we both dedicate our life to God, is going to be totally different between how I feel and you feel. Although we both granted the same love from God, or we both awaken the same type of love for God, there will be myriads of levels. Did I make myself clear? Ali? That explains many, many stories, many details in Torah and in the Bible, in the Nevi'im, in the prophets. I'm going to show one example. Anybody heard of the Ezekiel vision of the chariot? We talked about it, right? Ezekiel, anybody knows the story of Ezekiel?
The Jew, he did live in Israel.
Ezekiel is the only prophet who prophesies outside of Israel after Moshe after the Jewish people entered Israel. Oh, and Ezekiel was a convert. He was chosen by God. Ezekiel, the Talmud tells us, is considered like a village, a member of a village. In other words,
Peasant.
A peasant? Okay. Ben Kfar. I am a Ben Kfar. I grew up in a village. So in yeshiva, they would say, what do you want? He's Kafri. He's from the village. Huh?
No offense.
No offense, right. He's a peasant. In other words, everything that he saw in a vision was exciting because the first time. And therefore, he described in great details the colors, the shape, So he's talking about the chariot of God. He was considered like a villager who came for the first time to the big city. He sees a big tall building and cars driving. He's never seen that. So he starts describing to his friends what he saw. And he's writing a whole Megillah. Yeshaya, another prophet, had the same vision of the chariot. He is considered Ben Ir or Ben Krach. Krach is a metropolitan, a large city. He was born into it. He's used to it. No big deal. So when he's describing the chariot of God, a verse and a half. I saw God sitting on his throne. The throne was great. That's it. Nothing. It doesn't tell you how many legs. It doesn't tell you what faces, how high, the size, the material. Nothing. The Gemara, that's not Kabbalah. The Gemara says, how come both saw the same thing? Ezekiel has an entire chapter, I believe even 3 chapters I might be, definitely 1 chapter, and with great details. Yeshaya saw the same exact thing, and small, poquito, 1 line. Says the Gemara, Ezekiel was a peasant from the village. Therefore, what he saw affected him so deeply that he described and paid attention to all the details. Yeshaya, up in the heavens, he was a Ben Krach, he was used to, and therefore it was no big deal for him. So he saw it. He saw it yesterday. He saw it 2 days ago. So there is no big deal to write about. What it means is that I am influenced by here. So Ezekiel, they both saw the same thing. They both were as close to God. But Ezekiel, it was something that his brains were shaken by because he didn't see it before. It was something new for him. Therefore, his passion and description was in great details. Yeshaya, on the other hand, it was something he was used to, so it was no big deal. So it did not shake him so much. In other words, there are many other examples where we see that the love towards God is directly, not just towards God, by the way, it's in relationship too. It's from here. It doesn't start from here. It's all about here. So if I say to and we spoke about it in chapter 16 and chapter 3, that the emotions are impacted by my intellect. But here we see it in great details. And not only that, we both may have great love for God. And yet, my love for God, even if we will describe it exactly the same because we contemplated the same amount of time and we understood God the same amount and we were impacted by God in the same way, my love towards God is impossible to describe to the depth. I can tell what the emotions and how I feel. In that way, everyone who experiences the same has. But in great details, once you delve in a little deeper, it will be unique from anybody else. Because our intellect connects to God totally different based on our life, who we are, our DNA, and therefore it's going to be different. Did you understand that? In other words, that's the proof that the intellect has a direct impact on my love and fear of God. So last chapter, the Rabbi is talking about 2 types of fear, 2 types of love. Now the Rabbi is going to say the first part is the introduction to the new one, is that both have myriads of levels. There is no one love it's different. And then the rabbi is going to say, but the rabbi is having a problem, because based on that, how can you say that it's close to you to reach it? One is a gift from God, the other deep contemplation. It takes a lot of work. It's not so easy. And therefore the rabbi is going to say there is some love that exists. There are two other types of love that exist naturally within us. I don't have to create it. All I have to do is awaken. So it's a compromise between the two. Ahavah Rabbah, which is a gift from God, Ahavat Olam, which I have to create. Here's something you don't create, it's there, but you need to contemplate to bring it to the fore. And that is the love of life, for example, as an example for life, or the love between siblings, parents, and children, which is natural.
Not the command after
So it's about the same thing. So that by contemplate.
It's not a sibling family, it's just another Jewish rather than himself.
That's the family.
So the only way to explain it in chapter 32, the rabbi explained, is because realizing that my friend is part of my identity. That's the only way to explain that. So you need to contemplate. You need to think about it. It does not come in naturally. And by contemplating, hopefully you will be able to awaken it like you, friend. By the way, it says, L'reacha kamocha, like you, not exactly. Here it is. Let's study a little bit. Chapter 44, page 669. In the previous chapter, the Alter Rebbe explained that there are two broad categories in the love of God, Ahavah Rabbah and Ahavat Olam. Ahavah Rabbah cannot be attained by men unaided. It is granted as a gift from above when an individual merits it. Reflection alone on God's greatness can in no way engender this level of love. That's the first one. Ahavah Rabbah is a gift from God I cannot reach on my own. I cannot climb a ladder and get to the point of Ahavah Rabbah. The second one, Ahavat Olam, however, results from intense and sustained meditation on the greatness of God. Ahavat Olam, I deeply contemplate and meditate, and that will create my bond with God to feel the love. Says the Rebbe, each of the two grades of love, Ahavah Rabbah and Ahavat Olam, is subdivided into limitless shades and gradations, in each individual according to his spiritual capacity. In other words, each one has to create or is able to create a bond with God according to their level of intellect. And therefore, there is myriads of levels within each one of those two categories. As is written in the Holy Zohar, and the verse, our husband is known in the gates, that this refers to the Holy One, blessed be He, so called, since He is the husband of the congregation of Israel, who makes Himself known and attach Himself to everyone according to the extent which one measures in one's heart. Here is where we see the beauty of Kabbalah, seeing the different shades of text in the Torah. Every Friday night we say a chapter of Proverbs called Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. Letter Nun, the letter Nun is Noda b'she'arim baila b'shivta im ziknei oretz. Anybody heard that? You heard. What does Noda b'she'arim baala? The translation to English is, her husband is known in the gates. B'shivta im ziknei oretz, that he is sitting with other merchants of the land, and he has a respect. That's the simple translation, that he has respect with being an honest businessman that is very successful. Is that correct, Harry?
Yes.
What? But no, that she's proud of the husband, right? That's Noda. Noda is known. Dat is to know. Noda is known. Bashe'arim. What is Bashe'arim? Gates. Sha'ar is gate. 100 שערים, 100 gates in Yerushalayim, super religious, called 100 שערים. Ba'ala is the husband, B'shivtim Ziknei Oretz, when he's sitting with the elders of the land. Who is the, according to Kabbalah, who is the husband? God is the husband. We are the wife. What does it mean? Noda b'sha'arim is known. God is known in the gates. Here is the Kabbalah turns it around to a whole different meaning. You know what the word she'arim means? I just told you, gates, right? That's how it's translated. But actually, the word she'arim comes from another root called shi'ur. Anybody heard of the word shi'ur? A lesson. That's one. What else shi'ur is, Harry? Kazais, shi'ur kazai, shi'ur kabetza. You heard that, right, Harry? You see, even the great scholars agree. Shi'ur is measurement. Shi'urim is measurements. Shi'ur is also a lesson, but that's not for now. Shi'ur means leshaer, to estimate, right? It says in the Torah that everybody need to measure by themselves to how far they can get. In other words, leshaer means to estimate. Shi'ur also means measurement. If I want to know how much you can eat on the fast day, the shi'ur, the measurement is kazait, like an olive. How much you can drink, the shi'ur is revi'it, a quarter of a log, whatever it might mean. Shi'ur means measurements. Noda b'she'arim ba'ala means, according to Kabbalah, based on Alter Rebbe's explanation, is the husband, God, is known to us based on our measurement, because each one's measurements is totally different. Now you understand Noda b'she'arim ba'ala? Harry, do you understand the new interpretation? So it's heavy. To me, it's so beautiful.
50 years in that.
In other words, again, Noda b'she'arim ba'ala is the simple text is her husband is known in the gates. Gates meaning a place of doing business. That's the way in the biblical time, in the gates of the city. That's where the judges sat, and that's where people did business. Now we understand we refers to God, who is the husband, and he's known to me based on my measure. Bashi'urim, Bashi'arim means based on my connection to God. So my God and your God is the same God, but my relationship to God and your relationship to God is totally different. Why? Not because of God, because of me. Thank you. That's exactly the same. So if I tell to my children, I love my wife, and my children said to me, I love my wife, do they have the same relationship and sense of love? Impossible, because my intellect is bonding, assuming we're talking about my side. We didn't even talk about the recipient side, because between us and God, it sounds like it's a one way. I bond with God, I connect to God, but it's different between the way I connect to God, do you connect to God. That's why the Proverbs, King Solomon says, Noda, he is known to me, Bashi'urim ba'ala. Bashi'urim means according to my measure, according to my understanding. So if someone says to me, I can't see it, I can connect, I can bond, I say to him, I'm so sorry, I understand, I feel for you. But that's the way the human being was created. Let's continue. Thus, page 670. Two individuals may have the same general level of love of God, yet their particular individual levels of love will differ. Now you understand, my love and your love, if we are under the same umbrella, it's still going to be unique. Therefore, fear and love are called the secret things known to the Lord our God. For people cannot know the varying degrees of love of God harbored in the hearts of others. However, while the Torah and mitzvot are those things which are revealed to us and to our children to do. Anybody heard a verse in the Torah, Anistarot la Hashem Elokeinu? That which is hidden is for God our Lord. V'aniglot, and that which is revealed, Lanu Ulbaneinu Ad Olam, for us and our children forever. There is a simple text to it. That's the way we all understand until now. But now the Rabbi said, Hanistoros, that which is hidden refers to my brains and my heart. No one can tell what I think and how I feel. I can tell you how I feel, but I can never express that fully. Why? It's hidden. It's inside. Therefore, anistarot, that which is hidden, referring to intellect and emotions, La Hashem Elokeinu, only God knows. God knows exactly how I feel and how you feel, and He's able to tell the difference. But I will not, no matter how much I'm going to talk about it, you will never be able to experience the same exact. Ve'aniglois, something that which is revealed, which is the action, Lanu Banenu. It's equal to all of us. If it comes to keeping Shabbat, when it comes to keeping kosher, and it comes to being kind, giving tzedakah, etc., we all are doing the same. So that which is revealed is equally to all. That which is hidden, my emotions and my intellect, is only to God. Only God knows. They are found in all Jews equally. For we have all one Torah and one law insofar as the fulfillment of all the Torah and mitzvot in actual performance is concerned. All Jews perform mitzvot in the very same manner. The greatest Jew and the smallest both put on the same tefillin. We do the same mitzvah no matter how big am I figuratively or physically. It's action, it's revealed, and therefore it's all the same. However, it is otherwise with fear and love, which vary according to the knowledge of God in the mind and heart. Here, Jews are not equal. He whose knowledge of godliness is greater will experience the love and fear of God to a greater degree than his less knowledgeable colleague, as has been explained earlier in chapter 42. So now we understand that there are myriads of levels of love, there are myriads of levels of fear. When it comes to action, it's all the same. When it comes to emotions, it's going to be totally different. The Alter Rebbe explained in the previous chapter that Ahava Rabbah cannot be attained alone, while Ahavat Olam can. He now goes on to explain that there is a matter of love of God which incorporates the qualities of both Ahava Rabbah and Ahavat Olam. It has the qualities of the former, since it comes from above, and exists in the soul of every Jew in the form of inheritance from our patriarchs. However, in order for the love to be revealed, it is necessary for the individual to contemplate and comprehend godliness, as is the case with Ahavat Olam, which is revealed through man's service. I told you the Rebbe has a problem because the Torah tells us it's clear to us to attain this love and fear of God. It's not so easy. One of them is just a gift from God, and it's very rare. The other one, Ahavat Olam, has to be contemplated deeply for a very long time before it be attained. Therefore, the Rabbi is going to share with us that there is so to say, he's creating, I call it a compromise, meaning something in between. On one hand, it's a gift from God. It comes from God, but it was created in my DNA. Naturally, I was born with it. On the other hand, I cannot just get it, but I will need to contemplate, but it's not much deeper, as deep as contemplation as the previous one we talked about. And that's why the Rabbi is going to use two of them in this chapter. Yet, there is one singular and unique love, which incorporates some things of all the distinctions and gradations of both Ahavat Rabbah and Ahavat Olam, and is found equally in every Jewish soul as our inheritance from our patriarchs. That's why we called my Abraham, my father, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, my father, even though Yehuda might be my father too. I don't call him Yehuda Avinu. David might be our father. Ruth might be our mother. I don't call them that way. The only 4 are called mothers and only 3 are called fathers. because a father gives some DNA to us, and it continues until this very day, and that is the natural love of God, as the rabbi is going to explain. And that is what the Zohar says on the verse, my soul is I desire you at night. This is a verse from Zohar, so it's a little deeper. I'm going to just hover over that and just explain it in a simple way, although it is a much deeper concept than the way I explained. The Zohar notes that the verse is grammatically anomalous. It should either say, my soul desires you, or alternatively, I desire you. But instead it says, my soul I desire. My soul I desire, it should say, my soul desire. What is my soul I desire? Meaning, I desire my own soul. I desire you. Therefore, the Zohar explains that my soul refers to God, the soul of all beings. In effect, the Jew says to God, you are my soul. Therefore, I desire you. And as the Zohar goes on to say, in other words, I'm giving you a summary. It says, my soul, I desire you. That's what nafshi iviticha, balayla. And it says balayla only at night, which means the Zohar goes on to say that the soul is an extension of God. It's part of God. Therefore, my soul desires the soul itself because that's my essence. And therefore, that's how I desire God. So God is not an external aspect of me, but my soul is God. So when I want to love God, I don't love a separate entity. I love myself. And that's what King David says, my nafshi iviticha, not nafshi iviti God, iviticha, I desire my own soul. Did you understand? Ali, are you able to follow? Okay, good. So I'm going to show you a story. There was, it's a very famous story with Rabbi Akiva and Pappus. Pappus was a Jew. Once met Rabbi Akiva and says to him, how do you teach Torah publicly? Do you know the Romans have forbade and they're going to be very cruel. They're going to get rid of you if they catch you teach Torah. Why don't you hide for a little bit until a new governor, a new empire rises, and then you can continue. So what Rabbi Akiva says to him, I will give you a system. You are a smart man. They say Yehuda ben Pappus, Pappus ben Yehuda. He says to him, oh, you are a man that is called a wise man. You're a fool. You're a fool. Why? He says, I'll give you an example. One day the fox walked by the bank of the river and he sees fish running around. Fish never stay in one spot. They're always running. So the fox turned to the fish. He was hungry. So the fox turned to the fish and says, hey, why are you running? So they said to him, well, we are afraid of men's nets. Men cast nets. And they're going to catch us and kill us. So we are afraid of it. And therefore running around not to get caught. So he said, well, I have an idea for you, a much better idea. Why don't you jump to dry land? And I'll provide you a shelter, like me and like my ancestors and your ancestors live together. So what did they say to him? They say to him, are you the wisest of all animals? You're the fullest of all. If in our source of sustenance we fear for our life, and we're not certain if we're going to be around, if we are removed ourselves from our source of life, how much more so we should fear for our existence. That's what they answer. Are you from, anybody heard that before?
Yes.
You heard that? Okay. Ali, you heard that before?
I heard it already.
You heard it.
Oh,
Baruch Hashem.
no.
From you.
The idea is, why, after all, it's a simple example. Why did Rabbi Akiva has to tell it to him? He could have said to him, we need to study Torah because God commanded us. The way the Kabbalah explains it is that the water and the fish are one thing. it's impossible to separate them, because it's not a contemplation and reaching a conclusion water is good for us. It's the only choice, and therefore they don't need to be trained by their parents to stay in the water, because they know as soon as they leave the water, what happens? They're not around anymore. Water and fish are one entity. That's why, according to halacha, you need a mikveh. For a mikveh, you need 9 kabin. You need 9 measures. What if you have exactly, but there is a fish there in the water? The Jewish law is that the fish is counted as part of the water. Did you understand what I'm saying? Harry, do you understand? I see you scratching your head. So let's say you need 9 cabin is about, I'm using an arbitrary number, I'm not so sure, 230 gallons. You need about 300 gallons. Let's find out from ChatGPT. How much?
Losing me, tell us.
Todo esto es de la que yo aquí enfrente que lo puedo tener ahí.
Let's see. Thirteen liters is 5 gallons.
4.
Similar to that. I don't know, it's something.
I think 4 liters is a gallon. Isn't it?
It's more than.
13 liters is 3.4 gallons. Okay? 3.4 times
That's
3.4 times 9 is about, no, it's about 30. 30 gallons.
13?
30 gallons.
13?
Yeah. By 9. No.
Oh,
It's about 30 gallons.
uh,
Multiply it by 30 gallons. Okay, so it's about 30 gallons. Okay. Now, let's say the measure required, who was it? Let's say the measure, is this important? Let's say that I needed 30 gallons, 100 liters. Let's say I needed 100 liters. And there were 96 liters. But there is a big fish swimming, alive, not dead. A fish swimming in the water, and he takes the space of about 4.5 liters, 1.5 gallons. Jewish law, according to halacha, the fish is counted as water. And the reason is fish and water are one entity. Ali, do you understand that? Says the Rebbe, based when it says nafshi iviticha, my soul, I desire you, God, the spelling, the grammar is incorrect. It should say, my soul desires God. It should not say, my soul, I desire. I mean myself. My soul, myself desires. It doesn't make sense. So there are different ways of explaining that. But according to Kabbalah, my soul is God. And therefore, I desire my soul. Because that's how you connect with God. God and a human are not two separate entities. That's why Rabbi Akiva is bringing to Pappus the example of a fish in the water. They say to the fox, what do you want me to be outside? You cut me in half? You put me in dry land. What you did is you didn't move a fish out of water. You move a fish from its own existence. For half of what the fish is, you put it away. And that's impossible. You must be foolish. In other words, Pappus was a very wise man. He did not understand. That's according to the Rebbe's explanation, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Pappus was a wise man. He says to Rabbi Akiva, Why are you studying Torah? You're killing yourself. And the Torah says, don't kill yourself, save your life. And if you don't kill yourself, what happens is you wait 10 years, and then there will be a new empire that will relax the restrictions, and you can continue studying Torah. What does Rabbi Akiva says to him? He says, when the fox wants the fish to live out of the water, the fish tells the fox, water is me. I cannot be ripped apart from part of who I am. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva says, you're being foolish, because without Torah, without God, I'm not around. It's not me. A Jew is Torah. A Jew is God. And therefore, cutting it off, even temporarily, is cutting off, ripping apart an entity. I hope I made myself clear. Ali, do you understand that? That's what the rabbi is going to say. I naturally desire to live. Did my father teach me that I should want to breathe? No. If someone is not well, they would do whatever it takes to stay around and to be healthy. Unfortunately, today, people towards the end of their life, I don't mean in the individual that I know particularly, but I hear it all the time. I would rather not suffer, whatever it might be. People also commit suicide today to a great degree. But we know it should be the anomaly. It should be extremely, extremely unacceptable. It's not right. And you ask them why? Why they invent $15 million in putting a nets on the Golden Bridge? We had a jail. I did it with the teens. There was a whole debate in San Francisco about putting a net to catch people who jump off the Golden Bridge, because the Golden Gate Bridge. Many people want to end their life. They go and do it over there because there is a certain death. By the time they reach the water are freezing cold. They are like 50 degrees, I think 55 degrees. It's impossible to stay around for too long. People who jump off the skyway, unfortunately for them, fortunately for them, that they will survive the waters. The waters are much warmer. They are 70. Here they're going to get what do you call it?
Hypothermia.
Hypothermia. Immediately they die.
They died before they get there.
Yeah, I think
By the
that,
time
I
they,
think
by the
that,
time they hit the water, the who's dead.
All right. Why did they? So there was a whole debate about putting nets. It costed the city $15 million and in the 2000. And the reason they did it is 98% of those who were saved thanked those who saved them, and they said it was in the spur of the moment that they made that choice, and they are so regretful for what the decision they made. In other words, when someone wants to end their life, no matter what the consequences, they got divorced, he left me, there is debt that I'll never be able to pay, there is all kinds of things. When you have a clear mindset, no one would want to end their life. Is that clear? Did you understand? Do I have to contemplate on that? And the reason is, I am born with a godly soul. As long as I'm alive, that godly soul is with me. What happens when a person dies? The godly soul leaves his body. He's not there anymore. It's not there anymore. And therefore, the soul is God. So when I say I seek God, people say, oh, you look up God, come to me. God, come over here. There's no such thing. You know where you seek God? You seek God deeply in yourself. Your identity, you discover who you are. Right? People say, oh, I've discovered my identity. I've discovered who I am. When you find God, you discover yourself. King David said it, according to Kabbalah, Venafshi iviticha. I desire you. I desire my soul, you. That's the way it's written in the grammar. Because when you discover my soul, when I discover my soul, I discover God. That's why it says Balayla when I go to sleep. The next word is Balayla at night, because that's when the soul leaves the body and is free to bond with God. Therefore, if he connects to God. I hope I made myself very clear about this. Ali, Harry, any questions? The Zohar, I want to continue reading the Zohar and then we'll stop there. The Zohar notes that the verse is grammatically anomalous it should either say, my soul desire you, or alternatively, I desire you. Therefore, the Zohar explains that my soul refers to God, the soul of all beings. In other words, when King David talk about the soul of every existence, which is God. In effect, the Jew says to God, you are my soul, therefore I desire you. And as the Zohar goes on to say, one should love God with a love of the soul and the spirit as they are attached to the body, and the body loves them. This is the interpretation of the verse. My soul, I desire you, which means, since you, God, are my true soul and life, therefore do I desire you. That is to say, I long and yearns for you like a man who craves the life of his soul. And when he is weak and exhausted, he longs and yearns for his soul to revive him in him, literally to return to him. And we'll continue next week. So what the Rabbi is saying, I have a natural inborn desire to live. We will go to any extent possible. Thank God today it's much easier than used to be to survive, to live, because I have a soul. Therefore, the love towards God is equal to the love of life. Just like I love life, I need to realize life equals God. My soul that gives me life, that keeps me around, is God. Therefore, just like I love my soul, my life, I love God. And by doing so, it's a natural existing love towards God, but we need to think about it. However, it does not require a much deeper and a much deeper of multi-layers contemplations. It's much easier to reach. And next week, the Rabbi is going to talk about another type of love, but that's the start of this type of love. Yes, Harry?
That's it. That's spark.
Right, but God, the Rabbi wants you to love God, to awaken that love that will infuse you with serving God. And by contemplating that life is what God is about. And my soul that keeps me around is God. Therefore, I need to love God, just like I love myself. I love myself. That's why I go to a nice movie, and that's why I want to marry, and that's why I want to have family, and that's why I want to have health, and that's why I don't want to suffer. That's God. And therefore, you love God. You serve God just like you serve yourself. Good night, everybody. We'll meet again for this study next week.
Thank you.
God willing.
Rabbi.